السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا ما بعد. You guys remember we're still discussing Kitab al-Sabr, right? The book of patience from Riyadh al-Salihin. You remember that, right? Last night we started with a sub-chapter or a chapter under Kitab al-Sabr. One of the chapters under the book of patience. Do you remember what chapter is that? Anger. We said that it's one of the qualities and qualities of human beings that requires a lot of patience, a lot of sabr. That's why Imam An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala made it towards the end of the book of patience. And last night we discussed a short hadith, like it became like a highlight, like the introduction to the meaning of being strong and patient. You remember that hadith we discussed? Which hadith was that? Those who've been here last night at Jama'ah. لَيْسَ الشَّدِيدُ بِالسُّرْعَةِ. The Prophet ﷺ said the strong one is not the strong in wrestling, right? Who is that strong person? It's the one who controls his anger. When they're in a fit of rage, they can still hold on to themselves and hold their anger. Now here's another hadith to show us an example. So Imam An-Nawawi now bring an example where this kind of attitude to be patient in times of rage and anger is required the most. قال وعن سليمان بن صرد رضي الله تعالى عنه قال كنت جالسا مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Sulaiman ibn Surad, Sahabi رضي الله عنه, he said, I was one day sitting with the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم ورجلان يستبان, and there were two men on the side somewhere, and they began some quarrel and some fighting, some kind of arguments, and they start cursing at each other. First of all, what do you understand from this incident so far? What do you understand? Huh? They got angry. What did you say, Maj? They used to curse? You know what? That's a good point. What I wanted to say is that the Medinan community was a natural community. Meaning some people, they try to idealize the Medinan community to the extent that there is no sin whatsoever committed there. That people don't get angry, don't curse or cuss at each other. They don't hate each other. Subhanallah, we idealize that to the extent that whenever we see our communities around us, so there is no hope whatsoever to get there. But it was a natural community. They had the elite, they had the most righteous, they had the spiritual people, they have the mashallah, dedicated, they have volunteers, they had this, and they had also the average persons going by his life, normally. And deen for them is just something, they do whenever they have time for it. Who were these two people? Allahu A'lam. Eventually, they start cursing at each other. And guess what? The Prophet was there. It's not like they knew he was there or not. It's not the point. But the Prophet, he saw that, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He could have just leashed the Sahaba to go and teach them lesson. But he knew they're in a position right now when they're angry. It wouldn't be the time right now to try to kind of fix the situation in that fashion. So let's see what's going to happen. قال وأحدهما قد احمر وجهه. He said one of the two, his face was turning red. وانتفخت أوداجه. The veins of his neck were swollen from rage. What does that exactly mean? He's extremely angry, and you can tell on his face, his neck, he's about to do what? He's about to kill him. Basically, this is in a position of rage where you're about to become physical. Not just getting angry, cursing or cussing anymore. He's about to get physical. فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, his very calm demeanor, he said, قال إني لأعلم كلمة لو قالها لذهب عنه ما يجد. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم told the people around him, I know of a wording, if he were to utter that, his rage would vanish. It would vanish. He said that صلى الله عليه وسلم. If you were around the Prophet ﷺ and you heard them saying that, what would you say? What would you say to the Prophet? What is it, Ya Rasulullah? Why would you ask about it? Just for yourself? Or you want to help that guy? So the Sahaba, they wanted to help the guy. So like, wow, what is it, Ya Rasulullah? فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. To say, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. I seek refuge with Allah Azza wa Jal from the shaitan al-rajim, the one who's cursed or he's casted away. قال صلى الله عليه وسلم, if he says that, ذهب منه ما يجد. That state of rage will vanish. Now the Sahaba, they were excited. Why? We got the solution. Alhamdulillah, we have the remedy for this disease that is killing the community and causing damage to among themselves and so on. And just to learn how to say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. So they went running to this man. And they told him that the Prophet ﷺ said that you should say Ta'awwad billahi minash shaitanir rajim. You should say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. The hadith in this chapter right now ends at this, but there's actually a continuation of the story. If you see someone in a state of rage, and you go and you try to tell them ittaqillah, and you tell them say a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, what would they say to you? They might say a'udhu billahi mink, like I seek refuge with Allah from you, just get out of my face, perhaps, probably like you are the shaitan. And why we expect something different? This man, he was so angry to this moment that his rationale has been blocked by this cloud of anger and rage. He cannot see, he doesn't recognize things properly anymore. So when he was told that, he answered the person who told him the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, قال أتراني مجنونا? Like what? You see me crazy? Subhanallah, I mean, look at the way he responds even. Like, am I crazy or something to you? Do I look crazy for you? Well, he looked more than just crazy and at the moment, but he doesn't even rationalize that. He doesn't even recognize that about himself. Which is true. It's so scary. Wallahi, I want you to try it yourself. The moment when you get angry, try to snap a selfie, and then try to see that in the darkness of the night afterwards. You're going to scare yourself. Because when you're angry, you're not yourself really. It's so dangerous, subhanAllah. So Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum, they taught this man this word, but the shaitan was still, unfortunately, taken over at that moment. What happened afterwards, we don't know. The hadith the story does not continue to what level. But we know a few things about this hadith. When it comes to human nature, it's always the same. It has always been like this, and it's today and will continue. Meaning, whenever you're angry, it's better to be in control of yourself. Like the Prophet said, that previous hadith before that. And then when you get angry, there's a remedy. You say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, which is telling us something about the cause of all maybe source of anger. What could it be, Jama'ah? Where's it coming from? Ash-shaitan. He is taking every opportunity to blow his evil into the situation, the circumstances, so he can cause damage to the people, to the relationship. Whether it's between you and your spouse, your child, your co-workers, your employer, your friends and your family and so on, everybody, subhanAllah. So always seek refuge with Allah Azza wa Jal first and foremost. Before you seek help from any human being, you seek refuge with Allah Azza wa Jal from the shaitan. And then you go to the people, to the professionals. Ask for their help. They might help you through it, inshallah tabaraka wa ta'ala. Because these are Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum, they knew that even though he was so angry, we could help. The other thing we learn from this hadith, that in times of rage and times of of anger, people will act people. Do not expect people in that moment to just accept the advice so easily. Like some of us, mashallah, when they see someone who's angry, we try to calm them down by using what? The ayah and the hadith. Especially some husbands, they always use the ayah and the hadith and Riyadh al-Salihin against their wives. So when they don't like something, like ittaqillah, Allah said so and so. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said so and so. And your wife would tell you, you be Rasulullah first, then I will talk about it. Like he expects his wife to say, Jazakallah khair, may Allah reward you for reminding me. Alhamdulillah, I always wait for this. Yeah, sure. That's what she's waiting, right? So don't expect your spouse to accept that nasiha in a moment like that. And if you see that she's basically getting angry and upset, and you get surprised, that's your fault. So what do we do in this case? This case, subhanAllah, as human beings, people, they need to feel justice. They need to have justice. They need to feel that they've been validated. Once you get to them through that, then you can bring them the advice. So if you see somebody who's been wronged, instead of start right away telling them, ittaqillah, a'udhu billah, what you're doing, khaf Allah, they might not listen to you. Instead telling them, tell me what's going on. I might help you with it. And then once they calm down, because now they see someone trying to help out, then you tell them, you know what, wallah, it's better. I know we can do so much about it, but subhanAllah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would say so and so first. And then they might accept to say that from you. But if you try always to force that advice on them, it might not be effective. So remember, controlling anger is the first thing. Second, we are human beings. Even though we know the ayah and the hadith, but we sometimes, unfortunately, the shaitan is clever and he can take over in that moment. Therefore, try to calm yourself down, calm the other person down in a way to validate their pain and their grievances, and then you can bring them the nasiha, inshallah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. Wallahu ta'ala. Any question, Jama'ah? Come on, don't get me angry now. Yes?
So, just saying that, when somebody's angry, don't say out you could say the word, but there's no really comprehension of it.
So maybe the question is, maybe the person that you're reminding them to say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, they might just say it, but because their mind is so blocked, it might not have that effect. Well, Rasulullah said it would. I mean, just by saying it, it would. There's no doubt when you say it consciously, it has the greatest maximum impact. But at least when you start saying A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, even subhanallah, mentally, it's a distraction. Your brain is heading towards one direction. When you say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, you're slowing down that speed. That's the process of these thoughts. You're slowing it down. That split second of slowing it down by saying A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim can save your life and save your marriage, save whatever that you're actually about to destroy with what you're going to be doing. Just saying A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. It's a diversion. And usually if you study any book on the human psychology and anger management and all that stuff, they always recommend for people whenever they get in a fit of rage, they look for diversions. Before the brain takes you into the highway of destruction, just have a diversion. Reroute your brain and whatever that you do. And all the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, such as saying A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Sit down if you're waking up. Lay down if you're already sitting up. Make wudu. All these, subhanAllah, little things the Prophet ﷺ is suggesting for us, it's all about creating these diversions. To force the brain, getting out of its pilot mode into in your control. That you control your thoughts, you control your actions. Wallahu a'lam. Yes?
Why do you mention shaitan first? Why don't we say I seek refuge from Allah's wrath, or I seek refuge from getting misguided from getting misguided. I seek refuge from Allah from getting misguided.
Yeah, but when something happens between you and another human being, the first thing you need to do is not to wrong anybody else and not to cause any new extra fitna. So you seek help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to control the situation, which is causing fitna because of the involvement of the shaitan into this. See what I'm saying? So it's because of that we seek in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refuge from the shaitan. خير إن شاء الله. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. جزاكم الله خير. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.